Alright guys, so we're kind of getting a better understanding as to why there were so many 911 calls placed from Celeste Rivas Hernandez's family's home. We do have the Riverside County Sheriff's Department's data warehouse report that does indicate why each call was made, not specifically why, but a general, idea of why the call was placed. Before I start, you are going to hear me say minor criminal incident a lot. This basically refers to an adult calling authorities on a minor. The minor could be doing things like violating curfews, could be in possession of something that they shouldn't be in possession of, they could be loitering, they could be disturbing the peace, they could be running away, could be making threats toward family members or adults, could be any of those things, could be other things. It's when an adult is calling authorities on a minor. We're going to start with 2024. The nature of the call was an MNCIMI, which stands for minor criminal incident. We know that on the 14th she was last seen by family. I'm assuming that maybe the 15th is when she was reported missing by family the next day. Later that day there was a follow-up from law enforcement. The next day on the 16th there was a follow-up, and then on the 17th there was a follow-up as well. On February 20th, 2024, another minor criminal incident, and then a few days later on February 25th, 2024, they did a follow-up. On March 19th, 2024, there were 3 calls placed for minor criminal incident. It looks like all 3 calls were placed at 7:57. Maybe just one call was made to report 3 separate things. On the 26th of March, a few days later, there was a follow-up and then another follow-up on April 1st. The day after that second follow-up, on April 2nd, 2024, another minor criminal incident was reported, and the same thing happened again on April 5th, 2024, another minor criminal incident reported. Now we also know that on Celeste's most recent missing persons flyer, she was last seen by family on April 5th, 2024. So I'm assuming that that has something to do with her going missing. Now on the 11th, 19th, and 20th, there were follow-up calls made to law enforcement. And then on the 27th, there was a call made for suspicious circumstances. It doesn't say what the suspicious circumstances were, but at this point Celeste was missing, or so we thought. Remember, she was still coming around family every now and then after she was last seen on April 5th, 2024. On May 23rd, 2024, there was a follow-up, and then the next day, on May 24th, 2024, another minor criminal incident was reported. Now, for a few months, there were no calls to law enforcement made. I'm assuming this is because Celeste was not around her family. The calls started again on August 30th, 2024, and this call was related to passing information or suspicious activity. So I'm wondering if this could have been the family trying to let law enforcement know that they may know where Celeste was. I'm not sure. Again, a couple of months with no calls, and then on Christmas Eve in 2024, a juvenile called law enforcement. I'm wondering if this could be Celeste or if this could have been her brother. Remember, her brother did say that he tried reaching out to law enforcement to let them know where his sister was and who she was with, but they were not taking him seriously. The calls stop again and then start up again on March 29th, 2025, so this year, pertaining to a vandalized vehicle on the property as well as vandalism on the property. On April 27th, 2025, there are 2 calls placed regarding a minor criminal incident again, and then the calls stop completely. We actually don't see anything else as far as 911 calls made until around the time period where Celeste's body was found in David's Tesla in September. I do think that it's interesting that a call was placed from their residence on September 9th, 2025 at 8:41 in the morning. This would have been not even 24 hours after it was made public that a body was found in David's Tesla on September 8th. To me, it looks like the family could have known that this may have been Celeste's body, and they were calling law enforcement to follow up on their investigation about this. I personally find it crazy that we have all of these calls pertaining to incidents with a minor or with minors coming from this household, and CPS was never made aware of any of this to come in and try to help this family. And if they were ever called or notified or ever involved with this family to any capacity, they clearly were not doing enough. I do think that it's interesting to note that there were calls to law enforcement related to minor criminal incidents, so an incident involving a minor, up until April of 2025. Was Celeste's other siblings having issues at home as well? Or is it possible that these calls could have been about Celeste up until April of this year? If they are pertaining to Celeste, then this would indicate that Celeste was not actually missing and was not actually last seen on April 5th, 2024, like her flyer says and like her information states in the database. But obviously, we already knew that. It also narrows down our timeline a little bit if these calls were about Celeste, because it showcases that she would have been alive in April, at the end of April of 2025. Right now, no persons of interest have still been listed, no suspects have been named. However, it does seem like things are starting to close in, and LAPD is going to have some sort of arrest made in the near future. Of course, as information comes out, I'll be sure to share with you guys, so make sure you're following me and let me know what you think about these call logs and the fact that Celeste could have been around family up until the end of April of 2025.